It's often the case that a good closer wears his emotions on his sleeve. Closer candidate Matt Vogel takes that sentiment quite literally.
A lot of people look at me and are like, why does he have all these tattoos and stuff like that? Every single one of them means something. I got a tattoo on my chest right over my heart. At the top it says "Forever my Superman," and on the bottom it says Doe, because I call him Doe. His first name's Christopher, but I never called him Christopher. I was young, so I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what had happened or how serious it was. My brother was in a car accident while I was in upstate New York. I was playing in Cooperstown. His best friend had called my mom about the accident, and my dad and my mom had rushed home. One of his other best friends who was in the car with him had passed away on the scene. My brother had wound up in a coma for the first couple months, and then has been in a vegetative state for the past 7 years now. We were definitely close. He's 8 years older than I am. That's a big difference, but I mean, we were still best friends. Like, I was 12 years old when it happened, but I felt like I'd known him for so much longer than just 12 years. He would be the person that I would go to for everything. I mean, I was young, so I really shouldn't have had many problems, but every time that I would get into a little fight with my parents, I would just go to him and stuff like that, so he was always there for me. It was hard to watch as a young kid. I mean, you shouldn't have to go through that ever. Even till today, my family still struggles with it. The first couple years, he was in a rehabilitation center in upstate New York, which was like 3 hours away. And my mom and my dad would take turns traveling up there every other day. So, I mean, and the amount of stress that was put on them, I figured I needed to show my strength towards the family and show how strong I could be, because that's how he would want me to be. When it first happened, I really wasn't big into baseball or whatever. I enjoyed playing it, but I almost wanted to quit. Like, there was no sense for me to play anymore. But then when I started maturing and stuff like that, I figured I just want to play for him. Like, there's nothing other than I'd rather do. So, I mean, he was a big part of why I played when he was still around, and he was a big part of why I didn't want to play anymore until I finally matured enough to say, hey, I want to play for him. Whenever I step on the mound, I feel like pressured that I have to do good for him every time. Right when I get on the mound, behind the rubber, I always put his initials in the dirt. So, I mean, just it's a constant reminder. And whether I do well or I do bad, it's just the satisfaction that I'm still doing what he wanted me to do. Coach Holbrook always says, you know, do it for your team, do it for the coaches, do it for your family. No disrespect, but first, my brother comes first. So I always try and do it for him and then the team. I mean, that's just how it's always been. He's still living, but I have to live for him, kind of. It just reminds me every day I wake up, brush my teeth, whatever, look in the mirror, like, yeah, I gotta do it. I gotta do it for him.